I ain't never giving up. Like a
The top three here, Hamilton, Vettel, Verstappen, 13 world championships between them. Count them, down to you. Well, 7 for Hamilton, 4 for Vettel, 2 for Verstappen, 13, that makes 13. Nice one, really, not too shabby.
In a few moments' time, we have the green flag, and in front of a capacity crowd, 5 lights are on. It's lights out, away we go. Verstappen does get away well.
The top three here, Hamilton, Vettel, Verstappen, 13 world championships between them. Count them, down to you. Well, 7 for Hamilton, 4 for Vettel, 2 for Verstappen, 13, that makes 13. Nice one, really, not too shabby.
In a few moments' time, we have the green flag, and in front of a capacity crowd, 5 lights are on. It's lights out, away we go. Verstappen does get away well.
The top three here, Hamilton, Vettel, Verstappen, 13 world championships between them. Count them, down to you. Well, 7 for Hamilton, 4 for Vettel, 2 for Verstappen, 13, that makes 13. Nice one, really, not too shabby.
In a few moments' time, we have the green flag, and in front of a capacity crowd, 5 lights are on. It's lights out, away we go. Verstappen does get away well.
Hello all and welcome into WHF Tier 1. We're here in round 6 as we head to Austria, Spielberg. You're joined by me this evening, WHF Faro, as we hit the midway point in the WHF season. We go on board with Ty Clear. He'll be the first driver around on a lap, the Tier 2 champion from last season with Ferrari. Welcome back Apple as well. Apple's in the chat and Apple's also out there. He's the other Aston Martin driver reserving for today alongside we've also got the debutant of Flicks along with Star returning, former SSR champion back in Season 4. We've got Flex, a debutant today, if I didn't mention him. And DZ Racer, actually a Tier 3 driver, although got his first win last time out in Tier 3, so he's reserving up a Tier 1. We'll see if he can perform 2 tiers above his standing, but Ty Clear now will be the first driver around on a flyer. And what kind of lap time is Ty going to set here in the Aston Martin? Comes up to the line, and it's a 4.5 for Ty Clear. Unfortunately, Ty missing his teammate Jason Gordon today, as Rio Harris on a lap flying through the middle sector. As we've Walmax with a 4.6. And Rio Harris with a 4.0 sets the fastest lap time so far. Young Hemi Dems with a 3.9 goes ahead of him. AMS Apple starting his lap, TJ getting out of the way for some drivers along with Star. Michael Louis up to the line does a 5.3. We've got Stephen Beecham out there on a flyer. As Stephen Beecham now on a flyer around the final corner. Up to the line goes Stephen. And up to P4 with a 4.5. Identical time to his teammate last season of Ty Clear. That's hilarious. Cookie invalid. We've got Apple exiting Sector 1 on a flyer through the middle sector. But hilarious to see Ty and Stephen Beecham finished P1 and P2 last season in Tier 2. They were teammates and won the Constructors with Ferrari. But now they have an identical lap time here early on in this qualifying session, as AMS Apple will be the next driver around. And up to the line, Apple does a 3.4, setting the benchmark, is the Aston Martin driver. Next around, we may have Hemi Dimes going for another push lap. Maybe just doing some extra practice is Hemi Dimes. As Rio also on another lap. I wonder if have they gone in and out already? I'm not quite sure. Meanwhile, Star on that lovely white liveried Red Bull, the Japan livery. Although Cookie unfortunately has not got it unlocked yet, so Star still, as he's a wobble midway through the middle sector. But Cookie does not have the livery yet, for whatever reason. Man's a busy man, as Star now rounding the final corner. And up to the line he comes. And Star with a 4.151. As next round will be Rio Harris. And he's pretty much evens on his delta. And improves to just ahead of Hemi Dimes there. As Cookie invalid again, DZ Racer improves to P10, Flicks out there in P11. Currently out there in a lovely pink liveried V-Carb. Although I must say, when it comes to the V-Carb, I honestly like the white livery more, but Thori out there with the pink livery as he invalidates. And I believe he's invalidated his next lap as well. Meanwhile, Ollie on an out lap. Cookie still yet to set a lap here, and Cookie was dethroned last time out. Rio Harris finished ahead of him with Rio Harris finished ahead of him as Berlin retires in the box. We've got a couple drivers entering the box. Michael Louis on an in, Thory on an out. Not really seeing anyone really on a push lap. I believe Flicks may be the next driver on a push lap. Will go on board with the debutant as he gets a lovely run through turn 1. You want to cut as much of the inside of the turn 1 as you can, and Flicks did it perfectly there without invalidating. A little bit of a tyre in the grass. Flicks doesn't want to be doing that, or in the gravel. You lose some grip on the exit of turn 3, but Flicks still getting a very good run. Currently with a 4.8, but Flicks looks like he has a lot of time in the bag here. Just you can tell whenever a driver uses certain lines, although you don't really want to be going down to second exiting turn 4, but Flicks still on a flyer through the middle sector and is improving by half a second. That would improve him up ahead of TJ, but can he get up to the likes of Echo and Star, as Flicks now gonna chuck it in the final corner, and the tyres hold on well. Mid corner wobble and accidentally cut the inside. It would have improved him ahead of Star, so Flicks should be P4 if he didn't get that invalidation. And now Flicks is gonna have to go around for another lap as Thory and Ollie on a lap, although Ollie invalid again, so Ollie really gonna have to set a lap time. We didn't see last time out the McLaren struggle in qualifying, although they had a very strong race, ended up P5 and 6, but again it seems like the McLaren's struggling here in qualifying as Thory goes P13. Cookie out there on an outlap. We've got Hemi Dimes who seems to be doing another outlap. Ty Clear on a flyer, could get ahead of TJ, and he just about does, and it's hilarious that the P6, 7 and 8 are your top 3 in Tier 2 last season. They're still very close this season, fighting it out, as we'll go on board with Cookie, current championship leader, and has a strong lead this season. The 5-time champion here in WHF, and looking to make it 6th this season, but has invalidated so far on his runs through this qualifying session. But can he get ahead of AMS Apple on this run? A 3-4, very strong lap currently, and Cookie will want to try and get ahead of the Aston Martin driver who's reserving this evening. But Cookie has got to make sure that he gets a lap time on the board, because he doesn't want to be starting from the back. I don't doubt Cookie would be able to cut his way through the field, but it would allow the likes of Cookie, or the likes of Apple. Rio is, big wobble through the corner. Big lift to make sure that he kept it valid. We did hear the engine completely cut out, and even with that massive lift, it's a 3.5, a tenth off Apple. That's hilarious how big of a lift he did there right before the final corner, and Cookie still up to P2. As Ho Chi Minh in the chat says track limits. And Ho Chi Minh, why are you not in the lobby? Is the real question. Why are you not in the lobby? Get in the lobby. But Star, big improvement there. Star up just ahead of Cookie, half a tenth off Apple, and we're very close up at the top, separated by just over a tenth here, as Apple possibly believing that he's in a very strong position here, because he's already just set a really strong banker, and Star and Cookie haven't been able to get ahead of that. Meanwhile, Rio Harris improves a tenth behind Cookie. Now we're closing up here as the session progresses on, as Michael Louis did improve to P7. We've got TJ invalid, DZ Racer who won last time out in Tier 3, as Ollie trying to set his first valid lap. Ollie unfortunately yet to get a lap on the board, but hopefully he can get a banker set so that he can at least have another attempt, that he can actually use the tyres a bit. And Ollie now exiting Sector 2. and keeps it valid through the final corner. And the Season 3 WHF champion moves up to P12, just behind Womax. As Echo now through the middle sector seems to be on a flyer. And Echo has been strong in qualifying this season, but yet to see him really have a strong race. Had a couple of issues in the races, in the last number of races. Does improve by a 10th, but he's still behind Himmy Dimes, who also looking to improve here. Meanwhile, the V-Carb of Flex on a flyer on the gravel. Gonna look for another improvement here. He's gonna have lost some time by sticking a wheel in the gravel, but if Flex can at least improve by the half a second that he currently has in hand, it'll give him a good opportunity to challenge up at the front, like I'm sure he wants to, as Flex now crosses line up to P8, and that's closer to where I believe Flex wants to be in this race. He has enough time to get in and out again for another lap, as Apple in the chat says invalidated a 3-2 just then, as welcome in Sluscar into the chat, finished P4 last time out in Tier 2 Las Vegas last night. But seems everyone on an in-lap. Is TJ on a push? No, he's invalid, so Apple will go on board with the driver currently sitting on pole. Say that he invalidated a 3-2, and we'll see where can Apple go. This might be his final run. I don't know if he'll have enough time. Oh, and a big wobble out of turn 1. I wonder will he back out of the lap? I don't think he has. He's going ahead with that mid-corner wobble. Heavy braking into turn 3. Gets the car rotated. Bit of a wheel flick through the hairpin as he charges now to turn 4. As he has a little bit of a pink V-carb up ahead. And some traffic ahead of Apple. Hopefully the car gets out of the road. It doesn't. And that's Apple's lap done. And that, I believe, was TJ blocking Apple, which I'm sure Apple not going to be happy about. He may have enough time to get in the box again. And maybe back out again. As we'll see Rio Harris start his lap. And Rio, if he can improve by 2/10, although goes deep at the hairpin, misses the apex. I was going to say he could be on for pole if he does get a good improvement here, but that big mistake, I really doubt that he has over 2/10 in hand. Mid-corner correction through turn 4. And can Rio get any sort of improvement here on this lap, or would he even be better just doing a recharge? But it doesn't look like he is going to go for a recharge. As Rio now up through the final 2 corners of turn 9 and 10. And the car does stick for him. And round the final corner he goes. Can he get an improvement as he comes up to the line? Rio crosses the line, does improve, but just shy of Cookie's time, 300ths behind. And that'll be a little bit annoying. Meanwhile, Cookie invalid again. Really been struggling with the invalidations, and has Cookie ran out of time potentially. Oh, he's intentionally crashed. Interesting. Cookie may have ran out of time here in this qualifying session. And I think he has. It looks like Cookie will not be on pole, so it looks like it'll be Star or Apple for pole this evening, or maybe even Himmy Dimes if he gets a decent run in this qualifying session. He will need a big improvement here. As we'll see Himmy Dimes currently on a lap. Star and Apple just about to start. There's DZ Racer on a lap as well. Not quite sure where he is on the track as Himmy now can see the Red Bull just up ahead of him. As Himmy improving by a 10th, but needs more time if he wants to gain 8 positions, but he obviously does have to protect from the cars who are quick behind the likes of Echo and Michael Louis, and Flicks as well, who could improve. And Hemi now rounding the final corner. Where can the Ferrari driver go? As Hemi crosses the line, does improve by 2/10, but unable to get any further positions. Cookie retires from the session. We've got Star a 10th down out of Sector 1, as Rio on a flyer as well, but we'll stay with Star. Challenging for pole here is the reserve, but still a 10th down, and makes a mistake through the middle sector, and that's definitely Star's lap done. As Rio, big spin through the middle sector for Rio. He was somewhat evens on his time and could have potentially even got ahead of Cookie or Star, as Echo crosses the line. Don't believe he improves. Flicks is relatively evens on his time. Apple, though, is improving. And Apple could be looking to extend his margin up at the front of the field. Currently has a 3-4, but invalidates as he rounds the final corner, crosses the line with a 3-3, but doesn't improve by enough. Flex not improving. TJ on a flyer here, as Thori rounds the final corner, and Thori up to the line. Where can he go? Improves ahead of TJ. TJ needs this improvement. DZ Racer and Ollie yet to set their laps as TJ crosses the line, improves to P9. Ollie, invalid, would have got a 4-3, which would have put him ahead of Stephen Beecham. Meanwhile, DZ Racer will start in P15. But there you have it. AMS Apple on pole ahead of Star. Next it's Cookie, Rio Harris, Hemi Dimes, Echo, Ty Clear, Flicks, TJ, Michael Louis, Stephen, Thori, Womax, Ollie, DZ Racer, and Berlin will be your grid for this evening. But Apple returns after a long hiatus. It's been a couple of weeks since we've seen Apple. And we'll start Austria from pole. And that's alright in a save. Unfortunately, the save missing out. And it would have been lovely to see him, because we've got a lot of quick drivers in today. We're very quick up at the top. That top 5 separated by just over a quarter of a second. But it's Apple on pole, and for the first time this season, I believe, Cookie not starting on the front row, as Star ahead of Cookie, and Hemi Dimes in behind Rio Harris. Echo up in P6, and you would like to see Echo get a top 6 finish. Meanwhile, Flicks as well on debut, having a very strong opening qualifying, and we'd like to see how he'll do in the race, as the drivers will load into qualifying. And it seems to be a dry outing. And hopefully everyone gets an opportunity to pick their setups. Well, I mean, they already have their setups picked. Their race strategies and their tyre... that's the same thing. And their fuel loads. I was going to say the race strategies and their tyre strategies. I'm like, that is the same thing. And we'll see how the drivers do. But get your predictions in the stream. Who do you believe is going to win? Apple starts from pole ahead of Star. Next it's Cookie, followed by Rio Harris. As Ledgeman says, Star needs to get a win. I'll be in the virtual grandstand supporting Ledgeman, supporting his fellow Brit. Meanwhile, Apple is Dutch. Cookie's American. Rio, the Brit, the Australian of Hemi Dimes in P5. P5. As Mallard in the chat says, think you can hold the lobby for 9 hours so I can race? No. Apple says he's British. You know, the majority of AMS people are Dutch, so you just got to guess that you're Dutch, you know. But Apple is one of the rare Brits AMS drivers. But, you know... It's honestly like a 90-10, you know. 90% of AMS drivers are Dutch, and then Apple is that in that 10% of people who are actually British or another nation. But Nasev says Norway got the best driver. Is that Erling Haaland? Erling Haaland does some quali sims on the weekends. I hear Erling Haaland has got a 3 in TT. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Ledgeman in the chat says WHF has a lot of different nationalities, and yeah, in throughout our tiers we have many different nationalities. I would like to count how many nationalities we have, but we'll do that another day, as we will now have the 5 red lights on very shortly for 36 lap, a 36 lap race around the Spielberg circuit. And who will win? Will Cookie get back to winning form this race? Will Apple get his first win? Will Star get his first win this season? Or will it be another driver? This is going to be exciting to watch, as we will have the 5 red lights on. And they're out as Apple leads us away down into turn 1 ahead of Star. Cookie doesn't get the best of starts, as Rio catches the rear of Cookie very slightly. We see Flicks in the air momentarily, possibly ghosting, as everyone seems to have gotten away well as Flicks has retired. What has happened, Flicks? As through turn 3 we go, everyone seems to survive as Cookie through on Star, contact with Star. Apple has dropped down, not quite sure what's happened up at the front here. Cookie going defensive, Star on the outside here, trying to find the outside grip as absolute drama. I was trying to work out what happened with Flicks there. And in all that kerfuffle, Cookie somehow got into the lead as Hemi Dimes gets out of Echo. Echo losing out here as TJ going to dive on the inside of Echo. And Echo now losing out to Ty as TJ gets through into P6. But no idea how Cookie's got the lead of this race. But either way, the Red Bull driver has taken the lead. And I'm not quite sure what happened with Flicks there, but we'll see what happened after the race as Apple lost the lead on lap 1. We're not quite sure what happened there. We've seen Star off the track momentarily as well, Max, on the inside of Stephen Beecham. In behind we see Michael Louis going for a dive on the Ferrari driver. As Ferrari driver takes to the exit of the road, as a bit of ghosting from Berlin there. Not quite sure what's happening as Ollie on the rear of Berlin as we both go down the inside of Stephen Beecham. 3 wide. Ollie dives it, catches the rear of his teammate. And Michael Louis just about survives. I wonder, did Ollie get any damage? I don't think he has. He's just about survived as Stephen on the outside now of Ollie. And Ollie getting through on Stephen Beecham. But thankfully, this is the first race, I think, this season really, where Stephen survived without damage on the first lap. Good to see Stephen actually racing for once here in Tier 1. As Berlin leaves the track in behind Thori following DZ Racer. His Tier 1 debut this evening is Star on the rear of Cookie. And Star struggling with some dirty air. That opens the door to Apple. Apple putting some pressure on, but Star may have to burn the battery to put some pressure on Cookie. We may have a big move into turn 3 and Star contact with Cookie. Apple the lovely switchback, and Apple retakes the lead as Rio Harris up in to P3 as Rio gets ahead now. Star shaking the wheel ferociously. Not quite sure what happened there as Rio on the rear now. I wonder, was Star apologising for the send on Cookie, but Cookie with a late defensive move kind of forced Star into that dramatic send. As Rio now up into P3 and Cookie down in P4 now. Apple though back in the lead after that switchback. Excuse me, I just had a sneeze there. As Apple now sets the fastest lap of the race, retakes the lead. Hemi Dimes now on the rear of Cookie. And the Ferrari driver trying to find his way through on the Red Bull. Star now on the rear of Apple. Is he going to look for a move into turn 3? Apple going defensive. Star going to try and outbrake the Aston Martin as we go side by side through turn 3. Rio possibly got a good view of this as Apple in behind. Loses out to Star, but going to go for the move back into turn 4 as Apple sweeps back into the lead of the race and retakes the racing line as we're still all inside this DRS train here on lap 4. As Star now following Apple, Rio in behind, Cookie in behind as Ty catches TJ napping. What's happened, TJ? TJ's had some sort of issue. Oh, and it's caused a bit of contact there with Ollie. Oh my lord, massive crash in behind. Berlin caught around with TJ. What's happened there? Big contact between Berlin and TJ. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Very dramatic crash. Berlin now into the box. And I'm sure Berlin not happy with whatever happened there. Not quite sure what was happening with TJ. Star battling with Rio now. Rio and Apple as Rio losing the rear. And can this open the door back to Cookie again? But Star looks to have maintained P2. Rio unable to capitalise as Hemi Dimes now. And also we must get the tyre graphic up now that I pointed that out. Is that Star now on the rear of Rio Harris, or on the rear of Apple, as Rio Harris did go for the move but unable to find a way through as Stephen now has dropped a little bit back from the McLarens here, and Ty dropped a bit back from the lead train. That is Echo inside the top 6, but it was Star, Ollie, Thori starting on the hard tyres. Berlin and TJ have swapped to the hards. Everyone else starting on the medium tyres. It may be a 2-stop, maybe a 1-stop. We'll see what the drivers go for. If the drivers are 1-stopping, they'll have to go to around lap 16 before going for 20 or so laps on the hards as Thori gets ahead of Stephen Beecham into turn 3, and Thori now up to P11. Star now on the inside of AMS Apple into turn 4, and Star gets through into the lead on these hard tyres. And what can Star do on the hard tyres now? Will his tyres start to come towards him as Apple back on the inside as we get a horrible camera angle, a little bit of wheel banging through the middle sector here, and Apple right back through again. And I'm not sure Apple wants to let Star lead this race on those hard tyres because he could disappear, as Cookie now putting some pressure on Rio Harris up the hill. But no move available just yet. Cookie doesn't get the best of eggs inside of the final corner. May have invited Hemi Dimes onto his rear. Echo just trying to hold on to this pack as we start lap 7, as Ty continues to fall back from the rear of Echo. Star now back on the rear of Apple. Is Star going to go for another move back into turn 3? As Cookie also looking in the rear of Rio and almost into the rear of the Mercedes driver, as we all start to bunch up there exiting turn 3. Hemi on the rear. We've got Star back down the inside of Apple here, as Apple going to try and keep it on the outside. Star this time, big snap in the rear from Apple. May open the door to Rio as Rio picks the outside of the AMS driver, but Apple keeps it ahead, and the Aston Martin driver finally loses the lead here. And Star on the hard tyres. Can he start to use them to build the gap, or will this DRS train just continue on as Ollie all over the rear of OMX but unable to find a way through, as Apple continuing to follow. Ollie does get through in OMX into the final corner. Rare place to see a move as Ollie a little bit wide. Womack's gonna look back down the inside again into turn 1, and can the Sauber outbrake the McLaren? I think he has. Is Ollie gonna look for the switchback out of turn 1? I think he has. Womack still with DRS though. A lovely move from Womack as Cookie on the inside of Rio Harris. Big send on the Mercedes. Still contact between Rio and Cookie, bumping and barging into these two, and they may have lost DRS and may have invited Hemi Dimes into this battle as we've watched this battle along. They've all survived. We've got Michael Louis through on Ty Clear. Ollie and Womax continue to battle. Ollie defending the inside of turn 4 and keeps ahead of Womax. But major battling throughout here. Cookie now going to try and get back inside DRS range of the lead pair as Rio lost P3 there, battling with Cookie. As Ty continuing to battle Michael Louis. Meanwhile, Stephen following DZ Racer in behind. Stephen seems to have dropped back a little bit in this battle. And as we start lap 9, can Apple get back into the lead of the race? He's picked the outside and gets straight ahead of Star into turn 3 even before the braking zone. As Star locked the rears a little bit, it seemed, under braking. As Cookie started to close up there a bit. Star looking for a late send into turn 4. And they keep it clean. Star a little bit of wheel banging with Apple, but they both survive. Echo dropping a bit back as Ty Clear down the inside of Michael Louis as Michael looks for the switchback. Ollie's got a good vantage point of this battle as Michael going to try and get round the outside of Ty Clear. Ty on the inside trying to find the grip of Michael, sailing around the outside. They're still side by side through the middle sector here, and both contact and both around and off, and Ty comes out the better of the two, but both around there as Cookie into the box. Early stop for Cookie. Star gets ahead of Apple as into turn 1. Apple possibly going too slow for Star's liking, as Star may have picked up a warning there exiting turn 1. As major contact there. Ty battling with Stephen Beecham as Stephen dives on the inside. Michael Louis contact with DZ Racer in behind. And there's contact everywhere here. Michael Louis just about surviving, battling with DZ Racer. As Cookie exits now. Meanwhile, Star into the lead again. And who do we watch here? There's so many battles. Ty on the exit of turn 3, battling with Stephen Beecham. And Stephen now up into P9 as Thory battling with Ollie. Thory up into P6 now. And Thory having one of his best races of the season. As Ty and Stephen come together, ghosting between the two. It seemed like Ty maybe causing contact with Stephen there. We'll have to see what the stewards say after the race, but a lot of drama here already on lap 10. The pit stop phase has now started, and Cookie is now set the pit stop phase, and Rio and Hemi are going to follow him in as Apple stays out to follow Star. And interesting to see, will Apple try the 1 stop here along with Star? Cookie appears to have gone to the 2 stop, and I think Cookie will have undercut Rio and Hemi, but they will have the lap fresher hards, although Cookie, his pace has been undeniable for quite some time. Rio exits the box, but is a good margin behind as Thory now still trying to follow Ollie, losing the rear. Apple also struggling to stay with Star now. The hard tyres seem to be really working for Star as the yellow flag's out, and it's Berlin has had a wobble out of the final corner. Apple trying to stay with Star, and Star now trying to drop Apple out of DRS range, and I think he has. Will Apple come in this lap though, or will he stay out? We'll have to wait and see, as Apple does stay out, and it seems he might be committing to the 1 stop. He'll be going to as late as lap 16 before he goes on to the hards. Meanwhile, Stephen Beecham picking up a 3-second time penalty. Echo comes in. Cookie, the first driver to start the 2 stoppers there, as Thory on the rear of Ollie. And they'll be going to around lap 14, 16 if they're 2 stopping. And if they're 1 stopping, they'll be going to late as lap 20, 21, 22. As Cookie now on the rear of Ty Clear. As Thory into turn 3, unable to get ahead. Cookie sends it late on Ty and gets DRS on Ty as well. Made the move behind the DRS point, and a lovely strategic move from Cookie there to get ahead and get the advantage of DRS. And now Cookie is clear to try and catch Thory and Ollie, who will not be yet to box as Berlin picks up a 10-second penalty, and Berlin retires from the session. Berlin not having the best of outings here. As Thori on the rear of Ollie.
Hello there.
And thank you for the follow, BNZ. Welcome into the stream. As we're here on lap 12 of 36, and it's been an entertaining race so far. Apple now has fallen well back from Star. Apple just trying to make this. Oh, and Ty around, and Rio as well. Contact with Ty and Rio. Not quite sure what happened there. And Ty now coming into the pit lane. And Rio Harris has now dropped 2.5 seconds behind Emmy Dimes after contact with Ty Clear, as there's a yellow flag around. And that's TJ off. TJ at the back, off in the gravel. Heartbreak for TJ as well. As Ollie swapping with Thori yet again here. Cookie almost inside DRS range now. And BNZ, yes, the link in there's a link in the bio to the WHF Discord if you want to join it. As Stephen now in the rear of Michael Louis doesn't get the best of exits. DZ Racer also having a fantastic race here on his Tier 1 debut. As AMS Apple finally comes in. I think he's gone lap 14. I think he may be able to do hard to the end here. As Stephen back on the rear of Michael Louis. BNZ, just go to the click on the profile and go to the bio. I don't think we have any bot set up. Maybe if you type WHF in, it might work. As Cookie actually gets a 3-second time penalty, trying to get ahead of Ollie here. As Michael Louis also picking up a 3-second time penalty. I'm not sure Cookie's not going to be happy with that one. As he goes for a late send on Thori into turn 3, and a brave move on Thori as Cookie gets into P2. As Ollie now going to try and get back ahead of Thori. And Ollie back up into P3. As Cookie now will head after Star. Meanwhile, Apple not too far behind Rio Harris and could be going to the end on this strategy. As I'll see if this works. Nightbot, I think, is completely broken. Just try and go to the bio as Star comes in. And it's a bit early if he's doing a one-stop. BNZ, please click on the profile and go to the link in the bio. And it should take you to the Discord link. I don't think our bot's working at all. Stephen back on the rear of Michael Louis, both with pens now. As Ollie and Thori continue on. And Star's definitely gone for the 2-stop here, so we'll see how successful this is. As Star will exit in between Apple and Rio Harris. I think for whatever reason Nightbot is blocking the links. But Apple anyway on the rear of Star. As we continue on, Hemi Dimes up in. On my end, they just look blocked. Hemi Dimes on the rear of Thori. As Thori going to try and defend and stay inside DRS range from Ollie. These two still yet to box. Ollie coming in now, definitely 2-stopping. Thori going to try and continue on for the 1-stop as Hemi now with DRS. Up into P2 as Apple picks up a 3-second time penalty. Star on the rear of Hemi Dimes. As Apple going to look on the inside of Star. Side by side we go into turn 1. Star gets round the outside and keeps that position. And Star has to use these medium tyres before Apple tries to put him under pressure here. A Star now down the inside of Rio Harris. Apple trying to look for a move as well here as Rio tries the switch back. Doesn't get the best of exits though. Star now up into P4. He's trying to make this 2-stop work along with Rio Harris. Apple may be 1-stopping, but that 3-second time penalty may hurt him in this battle. As Apple now going to try and get through ahead of Rio as we head through turn 5 and 6. But unable to get ahead now. Meanwhile, Star on the rear of Thori, and he's going to get clean ahead of Thori as Thori looks to be coming into the pit lane. And I'm sure Rio wants to be cautious here, although Thori I think was just letting through Star. But Rio lost a lot of time there after that contact with Ty Clear early in the race as Apple gets a much better exit to the final corner, and these two are going to charge down to turn 1. Apple on the inside, Rio on the outside, and Rio just lets him through. Doesn't want to battle too hard over a very risky corner, which is turn 1. You'd never really want to go side by side through turn 1, as Rio now going to get through on Thor. He may even look through for a move on Apple down the inside. Oh, and almost contact Rio very late on the brakes, but makes it so that he doesn't go into the rear of Apple. Now Rio going to try and follow Apple along here. Star following Himmy Dimes. He's got to get ahead of Himmy Dimes as early as possible, as Ollie battling with DZ Racer. Stephen doesn't get the best of exits, trying to stay with Michael Louis here. And Ollie has got to cut his way through this mini train ahead of him as soon as he can, because he's on the 2-stop. He's got to use these mediums, similar to how Star is trying to use his as well. A Star right on the rear of Himmy Dimes, and Star can see the rear light flashing on the Ferrari as Ollie through the middle sector gets out of Stephen Beecham. That's a very unlikely place to see the move happen, as Star does get ahead into turn 1 on Himmy Dimes. We're missing all the moves, to be honest. It's hard to catch who's going for what move, as Himmy now back down the inside of Star, as it seems like these two are going to work together here to try and catch Cookie, as Star now getting the exit out of the final corner and going to try and get ahead of Himmy Dimes now back into turn 4, as these two swapping positions with DRS now. Oh, and Himmy into the rear of Star, as they had a bit of a coming together there. And Star now 5.7 off Cookie, but a reminder, both of them are on the 2-stop. Apple may be the only driver here on the actual 1-stop, and we'll see how Apple can do when he's trying this 1-stop. He's inside DRS range from Himmy Dimes, and that will allow him to try and catch up to Star again, but will Himmy be able to hold on to DRS of Star here? On the much better medium tyres, does he have it open? He just about does, and Himmy going to try and hold on for dear life. Otherwise Star could disappear down the road and could leave Himmy Dimes very vulnerable without the help of DRS to defend from Apple, as DZ Racer picks up his first time penalty of the day, but still having a very strong race is the reserve for today, as Himmy still following Star, but unable to get ahead of the reserve Red Bull for this evening, as Ollie now on the rear of Omo Max. Gonna try and play this as perfectly as he can, as we hear him lifting off. Oh my lord! Ollie's completely had a big contact, and he's taken out his teammate! Oh my lord, Ollie takes out Michael Louis accidentally, and the McLarens have had a bigger coming together than we've seen all season in real life between Norris and Piastri. Ollie accidentally taking out Michael Louis there, just had a big swapper on, as Ollie's going to try and get through on DZ Racer, but I wonder I'm confused what happened with Ollie there. Just moved out very late and completely lost the car into turn 3 there. Meanwhile, Apple on the rear of Himmy Dimes, and Himmy trying to stay with Star. And Star unable to really pull a gap here, but has been slowly catching Cookie in this race, as Apple still trying to put pressure on the Ferrari of Himmy Dimes. Losing the rear here, Stephen into turn 3 gets ahead of Womax, but a lovely switch back from the Cyber driver, and Womax back through into P7. Meanwhile, Ollie trying to rejoin this battle after that dramatic crash between him and Michael Louis. Meanwhile, Apple up the hill on the inside of Himmy Dimes, and Himmy Dimes has been caught napping, and Apple getting through on the Ferrari driver. And Himmy now down to P4 as Akko picks up a time penalty here. Akko a bit out of sync from everyone. It seems like Akko may be nailed on for P6 in this race. Meanwhile, Stephen on the outside of Womax, as Womax looks to be coming in for his final pit stop. Meanwhile, Apple gets on the outside of Star. There's a lot of desync here. Not quite sure what's happening here. Star on the rear of Apple. Now going to try and get back ahead of the AMS driver, but they're losing time to Cookie, I've noticed. The gap was around. A Star back down the inside of Apple and almost gets his front nose clipped off. But they've lost around 2 seconds to Cookie since I've last looked. As Thorey getting through on Michael Lowy, and I'm sure Michael very frustrated by contact between his teammate, which really wasn't his fault now. He's going to try and get round the outside of Thorey. And Michael possibly thinking about his second pit stop soon, as Ollie gets ahead of Stephen Beecham. As Star and Himmy Dimes, although Star coming in for his final pit stop, and surprising, he's only done 6 laps on those mediums. That's a very early pit, but he's possibly going to try and undercut Cookie here. I wonder, is Cookie seen that now, and Cookie going to try and push like a bat out of hell to try and make sure that he keeps Star behind. Star onto the hard tyres. He's gone hard, medium, hard. And DZ Racer also into the pit lane as Michael Lowy ahead of Thorey again. I wonder, was Thorey looking for a move? A bit confusing with all the deltas jumping around there. Meanwhile, Rio Harris is caught back up again to young Himmy Dimes, but that time penalty going to cost Rio. A couple drivers here with time penalties as Thorey does get back through on Michael Lowy. Michael looking for the switch back here. And who is DRS? It is Michael with DRS now. Should help him make the move into turn 4. But Thorey still there on the outside. Side by side they go. Thorey around the outside, trying to find the grip on those better tyres. And Thorey, despite not having DRS, is able to keep this move. And those better tyres really helping the V-Carb here. Meanwhile, Rio comes in for the undercut. Cookie's still staying out here. And could he be susceptible to Star, who is trying to pull this undercut? We did see how effective the undercut was earlier on with Cookie pulling the undercut, and now Star doing a bit of the reverse. Meanwhile, Apple could be doing the one stop, so all important to note. When do Cookie, Himmy Dimes and Echo come in? Does Cookie try and stay out to the very end? I think that'll be a mistake, because I think Apple will catch him by the end of the race. And not only that, but Star will be very quick to the end. So we'll keep an eye on all these battles. Will Cookie come in this lap? No, Cookie seems to be staying out. I think lap 24 is possibly a good time to come in for the mediums, but we'll see what Cookie decides to do. Maybe he doesn't have a set of hards to use, as Himmy Dimes does come in, possibly for a set of the medium tyres, as Thorey on the rear of Stephen Beecham, and Thorey having one of his best races of the season so far. Currently in P9 and seems to be making some inroads on the rear of the Ferrari of Stephen Beecham. Stephen now going to look to come in as Star sets the fastest lap of the race now, and Star into P4 on an absolute charge now is Star. And I think if Cookie doesn't box this lap, we'll start to scratch our heads when he is going to box. I think if he doesn't box after lap 26, we'll start to really scratch our heads. And I think he can't box after lap 27. I think 27 is the latest he could go and still find effectiveness, but he is coming in this lap, is Cookie. And Cookie now in, and it might be medium tyres, it might be hard tyres, and Cookie gets a 10-second speeding in the pit lane penalty, and on to the medium tyres. And you've got to think, has Cookie thrown away the win here? Will that have handed the win to the likes of AMS Apple or even Star?
I am stupid. I am stupid.
Star now has no penalties and he's on a strong strategy. Cookie, though, did pull the undercut early on, and Cookie exits the box ahead of Star. Despite Star charging, Cookie's exited two. That's very surprising. Cookie 2 seconds up the road from Star, so that middle stint from Cookie was absolutely superb. Star now will be inside his penalty threshold, but I'm surprised he was not able to catch up to Cookie there. Meanwhile, I mean, Star with a lot of the battling with Apple and Co. may have played a factor. Apple definitely on the one stop here. I think Apple just going to try and stay as long as possible now. Cookie on the rear of Echo. And this may help Star if Cookie cannot get ahead of Echo as early as possible. Echo going to the inside. And Cookie dives it round the outside. As Echo is entering the pit lane. I wonder, has that lost Cookie any time? It doesn't seem to. As we see Star cross the line. We'll see his Delta return. He's 2.2 behind Cookie. And I think that gap will just build and build for the next number of laps. Meanwhile, Rio had pulled the undercut on Hemi Dimes. Ollie now up to P10. Echo now exiting behind Thory. But I think Echo will possibly end this race in P6 as he loses the rear exiting the box there. But he does have strong tyres to try and get ahead of Thory and Ollie. And Echo just seems to be confined to that P6 spot this race. I think Star's race now is with Apple. He has to catch Apple. Cookie now is 13 seconds of penalties. If you're just joining us, Cookie had 3 seconds along with Apple and Rio, but Cookie just sped into the pit lane on his final pit entry. And unless there's a safety car, Cookie could be confined to that position, although he's pulling a big gap to Star now. Improved by 2 seconds this lap, although the mediums, they don't hold on massively on this game. Towards the end of the stint, they really die off. So Star is just going to stay consistent to the end. He's going to make sure that his stint towards the end here is very strong as Ollie comes in now, along with Ty Clear. As Echo does get ahead of Thory. And Echo now into P6, and I assume that's where he'll finish unless something dramatic happens, as Womack's getting ahead of Ollie and Ty Clear in the pit lane. DZ Racer now up into P9, and I wonder, did DZ Racer expect this sort of performance on his first race in Tier 1? It's been such a strong outing for DZ Racer. Got his first win in Tier 3 on Friday, and now up in Tier 1, and he's inside the top 10 and having a very, very strong race. Meanwhile, Ollie and Michael Louis, contact between the two earlier. Stephen now going to try and get back down the inside of DZ Racer, and Stephen does have the 2-lap fresher hards in order to help this move. But I wonder, is Michael going to be nice to Ollie, considering Ollie accidentally did take him out earlier, and that might have annoyed Michael. So we'll see how these two race in their chrome McLarens. It'll be an intriguing battle. Last time out they finished P5 and 6 as Ollie picks up a time penalty. That might be his first of the day. It is. And now Ollie and Michael are on level playing field until the end of this race. So these two might be battling hard to the end. And I'm not sure Michael, considering Ollie did inadvertently take him out, I'm not sure Michael wants to let through his teammate. We'll have to wait and see what happens here as time progresses. And Ollie now, as he exits turn 1, will he be able to get ahead of Michael Louis? Will Michael go very defensive into turn 3? We see DZ Racer on the inside of Stephen Beecham as Ollie breaks early. As we got DZ Racer battling with Stephen Beecham. And losing the rear is DZ Racer. That may have opened the door to Michael Louis. And Ollie. Michael doesn't have DRS, but is closing to DZ Racer here. And the McLaren's now all over the rear of the Alpine, as the Alpine trying to hold on to the Ferrari up ahead. As it's great to see Stephen finally in the battles up in P9. Had such an awful start to the season. Pretty much every race he got his front wing chipped off on lap 1 of pretty much every race so far. Finally here in Austria, he seems to have survived the lap 1 drama. Now he's up in P9 for what I believe will be his best result of the season. Meanwhile, Michael Louis and Ollie, like two bloodhounds on the trail of DZ Racer, who's desperately trying to hold on to the rear of Stephen, but leaves the track. May have picked up a warning, did the Alpine, but just about holding on to DRS range here. But is the Alpine faltering now as Michael closing on the rear, Ollie in behind as well. Oh, and DZ Racer spins at turn 3, and he tried his best to try and stay with the likes of Stephen and keep the McLarens behind, but cooked the rears, and The Tier 3 driver has fought well in this race, but will hold on to P10 no longer. Now he's going to look on the rear where Ty Clear are going to try and catch DZ Racer. He's also got TJ in behind. So if DZ Racer, I think if he finishes ahead of TJ, I think he'll definitely take that as a very strong outing, as Thory picks up a time penalty. And Thory a little bit disappointed with that, I would think. 6 seconds now. And Thory is going to try and make these mediums go to the end. He's got to manage them. He probably went in a bit too early to do the one stop on the mediums. So he's got to really manage the mediums to the end here. He may lose out to Womax, who's on the fresher hard tyres. But will Thory be able to last to the end as Michael Louis into turn 3, getting ahead of Stephen. Stephen on the outside. Has he lost some ground to Ollie? Is Ollie on the inside now of the Ferrari? It's a drag race down to turn 4. And Ollie now going to look for a way through, even on Michael Louis, as we're almost 3 wide into turn 4. And Ollie on the inside of his teammate of Stephen. Into the rear as Cookie's picked up another time penalty. Cookie with 16 seconds of penalties. And could even the likes of Rio Harris or Hemi Dimes finish ahead of Cookie in this one? As Cookie struggling to stay inside the white lines as Ty Clear gets out of DZ Racer. Cookie now on the outside of Apple. I'm sure Apple's going to try to hold him up as long as possible here. As we head down into turn 4, Cookie sweeps around the outside and gets into P1 now. But with 16 seconds of penalties, surely the battle is between Apple and Star here. Can Star, on the much fresher hards, catch Apple by the end? But Apple still doing very well on this one stop. Star has got to catch Apple as soon as possible here. Apple going to try and hold on to Cookie for as long as possible, because the longer he has DRS, the longer he'll be able to keep Star at bay. But can Star get his first win in WHF Season 5? Will Apple get his first win in WHF, period? We'll have to wait and see. He's got to keep the gap and to over 3.5 seconds. Can Star catch 3.5 seconds in the last number of laps? We'll have to wait and see. Star's got to give it everything if he wants this win. Or will Apple pick up his first win? Cookie may be finishing even behind Hemi Dimes. At this stage, if we look at the gap to leader, he will be finishing behind Hemi Dimes. And Rio just with 3 seconds here. Hemi Dimes inadvertently may end up on the podium here, despite being down in P5. As Apple now has lost DRS, but that lap of DRS help from Cookie may have helped him to keep Star bay. Star's only caught around half a second maybe in this lap, and he needs to really catch a second per lap at this stage to try and make sure he gets inside that penalty margin of Apple. But now Apple that he's out of DRS range, his hards may be overheating at this stage. Can Star catch him and win here in Austria? It'd be sensational to see Star. It'd be his first win on F125, as we see TJ leaving the box, trying to pick up the fastest lap on those soft tyres. Meanwhile, Michael Louis still following Ollie, his teammate, along. Ollie on very strong mediums, though, to the end here. So can Michael's hards hold on here? Meanwhile, Ollie trying to catch Michael Louis, or Max as well. And Michael may have lost DRS range from his teammate, as Ollie trying to hunt down the Sauber, who earlier he had a bit of drama with at turn 3. And has Michael got the DRS? He just about has, and that may have saved Michael a lot here. Stephen trying to hold on as best he can as well. Ty Clear trying to catch the penalty threshold of Stephen up ahead as well. As DZ Racer goes very deep through turn 1 and picks up a deserving time penalty, you'd have to say. Just kind of cutting the outset of turn 1. Meanwhile, Ollie inside DRS range from Womax. Now Michael Louis lost DRS range. Star now 8/10 out of the range that he needs for Apple. And can Star get his first win this season? He just needs over half a second. Apple's tyres are fading. Apple's fought so strong in this race, but there may not be enough. And what's funny to think about is if Cookie hadn't have got that 10-second time penalty, he may have won. Like, that's how good Cookie's pace has been, despite his 6 seconds of penalties. he still may have won if he just avoided that 10-second spin in the pit lane penalty. Meanwhile, Starr now, has he got under the threshold of Apple? He has. He's got 2 more laps just to manage the gap now, and Starr may have his first win of the season. Finished P3 last season in Season 5, but here in Season 6, he may finally get a win here on F125. Had no wins last season despite being P3 in the championship. And now Starr could finally get that first win, that bogey, or that monkey off his back as Ollie down the inside of Womack at turn 4. As the Sauber and the McLaren go side by side, can Ollie outdrag the Sauber as Womack's on the inside of turn 6, and they just about get ahead. Meanwhile, they both caught Thori as well. Thori, who has 6 seconds of penalties and is on very old mediums now at this stage, and this may help Ollie here. Although I'm trying to work out, does Ollie only has 3 seconds, so this may help Ollie get some positions if he can use Thori. As a little bit of a buffer as Stephen made a mistake, and that's the other Ferrari of Hemi Dimes. Hemi may have lost himself a podium here. He was with Rio there and made a mistake here on the penultimate lap as Womack's going to try and follow Ollie as they try and both get through on Thori here. As Ollie recharging here as the rain's coming down. Womack with a very late send on Ollie, and a bit of contact between Womack and Ollie as Ollie going to try and get the exit now, and the rain is out here on the final lap as Starr rounding the final corner. Although Cookie started the final lap, it's only started the final lap now for Starr. Meanwhile, Ollie now on the rear. Thor, going to look around the outside of the V car, may open the door for the Sauber here. And the Sauber looking for P7 here. Ollie's going to make a move here, surely, as Starr on the inside of turn 3 gets ahead now. And Starr surely nailed on here as Womack getting ahead of Ollie. Ollie seems to have made some sort of error that's allowed Womack through, as Womack now all over the rear of Thori. And I'm not sure they quite know that Thori has all this. Oh, was Michael Louis getting through in Ollie? What's happening, Ollie? Ollie's fading as Womack now down the inside of Thori. Side by side we go into turn 1. Is there going to be contact? Major drama here on the final lap. We're almost 4 abreast up into turn 3. Oh my lord, look at the racing here as Michael Lou on the inside of Womack, and we're 2 side by side. Cookie crosses the line as we just about survive. Oh, and that's the V-Corp off the track, and Starr's going to cross the line and win in Austria here, ahead of Apple and Cookie. Then it's Rio Harris, Hemi Dimes into P4, Cookie down to P5. Womack now battling hammer and tongs with Michael Louis. Michael going to get through into P7, but surely Womack is going to have that with the penalties as the rain falls here on the final lap. As Womack now on the rear of Michael Louis as we round the final corner. Michael Louis will finish in P7, but Womack will surely get it because of the penalties. Meanwhile, DZ Racer trying to jump ahead of Thori as well, and DZ Racer looking for P12 here, and I'm not sure he got it. I think the penalty cost him, and DZ Racer does finish in P13, but what a dramatic race. Starr wins for the first time in WHF Season 6. You absolutely love to see it. The SSR Season 4 champion returns to the top step of the podium and finishes ahead of Apple. Apple fought well on that one stop. As Rio back on the podium after winning last time out in Spain. Followed by Hemi Dimes at P4 and Cookie down to P5. That's the lowest finish we've seen from Cookie in quite some time, with that 16 seconds of penalties. As we've missed out on the Delta. Oh well. Hopefully the race saved properly. Did it save? Let's see. I'm not sure if it saved. Let's see. It did. Nice. But we'll start the interviews with Rio Harris on the podium again. Rio, how'd that race go for you?
Fine until the stupid pay entry thing. That actually could have been 2 wins in a row if it wasn't for that.
What happened between you and Ty?
Oh, yeah, he's just entering the pit lane, and then I think he's just gone on the curb, washed out wider on this pit entry, and then I've hit the stupid contact model. I've hit his front tire and it spun me around.
Well, nonetheless, it's still a podium, and normally, if you got a P3, that would mean Cookie's gained in the championship, but Cookie's actually lost ground to you in the championship because he had so many penalties, he ended up finished down in P5. I mean, the championship could still be on.
Oh no, I was saying to Adam, as long as I beat Cookie, I don't really give a fuck about the 2 ahead because they're kind of irrelevant. Because Apple and Star's barely raced, so it's a gain. 6 rounds, I've got to gain like 40 points. Well, it ain't over, but
it ain't over to the fat lady sings, and we'll see the fat lady singing by the end. But thank you, Rio, and congrats on that P3.
thank you.
As we'll move on to AMS Apple. AMS Apple doing the one stop, and at a point it almost seemed like you could win, but Star had too much pace in the end and did win. But AMS Apple, how'd that race go for you? Apple?
Speechless.
Oh, he's absolutely speechless. Can't believe it.
Absolute cinema.
But yeah, that's a perfect sound alert. I'm gonna try and see if we can get Star into the interviews. And I'm not sure if he's joined or not, but we'll move.
Drag him down.
I don't know how to drag him. How do we drag him?
You just.
Oh wait, I know why Star can't see it.
Oh. Because he's not tier 1 driver.
Yeah, because he just showed up. Right, Star should be able to see it now. There we are.
We in.
Finally, we're in. Star, your first win of the season. How does that one feel?
Satisfying. I mean, I know it's kind of rude to have a smirk on my face, but after the pain of last season, that one felt quite nice. I've done myself justice now.
Yeah, despite your pace last season, it was surprising to see you not actually pick up a win last season. So it's good that now you finally, as I mentioned, that you've got the monkey off your back and you've got that win here. And did you have any worry that Cookie or Apple might have too much pace in that race?
I wasn't worried by Apple when I realised he wasn't 2-stopping and we were. If we were all 1-stopping or if we were all in the same strategy, I think Apple would have won. But yeah, I mean, he made a bold decision today. He could have. I mean, it technically would have been a fight on the last lap if he didn't have his penalty, so I got to give him credit where it's due. But at the same time, I'm incredibly pleased that I won, and like you said, get the monkey off my back, and I can say I've beaten Cookie at least once, and that will do me.
And were you also surprised by Cookie seeing the amount of penalties he had?
Yes and no. I mean, it's Austria, it's a penalty track. I bet loads of people had penalties. I mean, the cars around me, Rio, Himmy Dimes, everybody had a penalty. I was on 2 warnings from lap 10, so it was quite hard to manage that and the rear temps. But yeah, I mean, usually when Cookie gets penalties, he's got the gap in front, and like I said before, I'm just pleased I could get in that gap and beat him.
Well, congrats to you, Star, on your first appearance of the season. You pick up a win, and I think you'll take a 100% win rate this season.
Yep.
We have got the same amount of wins as me this season.
Yep.
For this game.
Shout out Ledge Man, keep predicting me.
We need Ledge Man in the streams to predict Star win more, and the races will be very fun to watch. But congrats to yourself, Star, and congrats on the win. And we'll move on to Himmy Dimes, who finished in P4. Himmy, how'd that race go for you?
It was okay until, curbs just absolutely murdered me.
Yeah, we did see you drop back. You were close to Rio there, and it seemed like you had the podium nailed on. But then, what happened on the penultimate lap?
Headed into turn 3, I went on the curve as I usually had been, and for some reason, it just absolutely yoinked my rear, and I just spun it.
Well,
It's just shambolic.
despite missing out on the podium, it's still a P4, and with that, you jump ahead of JG in the championship up to P3. But you're only 11 points behind Rio Harris. Do you think you can beat Rio by the end of the season?
I doubt it. With the calendar and my track record at some of these tracks is questionable. But I do look forward to tracks like Hungary, Zandvoort. I should have some good pace, so I'm just hoping I get up there with Rio. Silverstone, I'm mid at most. So.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you next time out in Silverstone to see how the drivers will get on, as we'll move on to Echo. I think, Echo, you ended up finishing P6, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And how'd that race go for you? I did mention it was a pretty lonely race because once you dropped off that top 5 pack, it just seemed like you were setting your ways to get P6 in the end.
It went better than last weekend, considering I was hoping for, I think it was P4 in Spain. But yeah, it was still a good result. It's just, obviously, with paddle, it's just tyre wear I'm really struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I lose a lot of pace and ended up getting dumped out of DRS when there's a train. But yeah, it's still a pretty good result, so yeah, I'm quite happy with it.
Yeah, and I think that is one of your best results of the season. Let me have a quick look.
Yeah, this season, yeah.
Where is Echo? Yeah, I think that is your best result of the season. So hopefully, more of that to come, and you can start to make your way up in the championship.
Hopefully, if I can master tyre wear.
And next, we'll move on to Thori. Thori, you tried a brave one stop, a hard medium, although you did box.
No, I don't box.
Huh?
I did no box on the last 2 laps.
No. You what? I was saying you went for a brave one stop because you boxed lap 16, and I was like, that's not really doable because you need to be at earliest lap 18, and then you actually ended up doing more laps on the mediums than you did on the hards. It honestly did seem to be working, and then the last couple laps just fell away, but you still finished P12 ahead of El Prat, aka DZ Racer. But how'd that race go for you anyway?
Yeah, it was a really fun race. My first race was great, but I was expecting the rain like in lap 25, so I was hoping on that, but rain comes a little bit too late for me.
Yeah,
it was a little bit of shame. I was hoping, begging the rain come every lap.
Yeah, we only really did see the rain come out in the penultimate lap of the race. It would have added a little bit more drama. If it had seemed like a safety car or something, that could have maybe brought the rain into play, but in the end, the rain just came too late for it to really make any impact at all on the racing. Although we did see some of the last couple laps drama. There was many cars absolutely everywhere. You were in the battles with them. How fun was that battle at the end?
Yeah, it was really fun, the last battle, but my tires were gone and it was rain on the track, so it was a little bit slippery. So I spun.
Yeah, unfortunately, at turn 3, we've seen a couple drivers lose it there, but oh well. You'll come again next race as we head to Silverstone. For everyone who's still in the interviews, is Silverstone any favourites for anyone?
Yes.
No, the tyre wears shit. Don't turn up.
So what I'm hearing is Rio Harris is going to win and lap the field. That's what I heard him say.
Cookie simply does not take 2 L's in back-to-back weeks.
Well,
Believe
he
me,
lost,
I know.
He didn't win last week.
So
So he has taken an L back to back.
Never mind, we'll call it 3 in a row.
back to back.
Well, to be fair, in season 3, he did not win at all. So,
Right, Ari, you know how you're doing the interviews for us?
Mm-hmm.
we're going to do the roles reversed today. How did you think the race was from a commentary point of view?
Yeah, it was very fun to watch. Different strategies. Star, Apple, and Cookie all went for different strategies. It was really fun to see it play out. It would have been better if there was less penalties. I think Cookie's penalties helped the drama of the result, whereas Apple's penalty, it kind of looked... Once we seen Star take chunks out of Apple's time, it seemed nailed on that Star would catch him by the end. Whereas Cookie, I mean, if he hadn't have got that 10-second penalty, he might have won in the end, but in the end...
Yeah, he would have.
That 10-second penalty ultimately cost him, and but I'm sure Cookie, he'll be counting his trophies after the race. He won't really care, I don't think.
To be fair, what I said, do you know that in the driver quote thing I did, like the pre-race thoughts?
Yeah.
I said, Pete, obviously, despite Cookie's pace, it's evident that he is prone to make a mistake or two sometimes. I called it.
I thought that was brave to say, but here we are. I mean, he did make another mistake, so Cookie, unfortunately, has made 2 mistakes in 2 weeks in a row, costing him wins. But I'm sure as we return to Silverstone, we'll see the old Cookie return to glory. But also a couple of very entertaining midfield battles in that race as well. Max finished P7 in the end, where it was a very close battle between him, Ty, Ollie, Michael, and Stephen. Even the Thory was in that battle as well. DZ Racer was involved in that battle as well. So pretty much from P7 to P13, all battling. Unfortunately, TJ, your teammate Rio, spun off in the gravel at exiting turn 8, and that just seemed to be his race done and dusted. Once the kind of once you have a big mistake in tier 1, it just seems like you never are able to recover, especially if there's no safety car. And I know that from being in tier 2, because there's been no safety cars to help me all season when I've made 100 mistakes. But anyway, I think that's been all from us here at
One more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think the championship fight is on?
I mean, at any point, Cookie could just be like, you know what, I couldn't be arsed, I'm busy. And then there you are, championship fight's on. But if Cookie does show up, I very much doubt, like, I would be absolutely shocked if Cookie lost the championship if he turned up for every race. I think Cookie would have to, like, self-sabotage to not win. But you never know.
I'm gonna have to deploy Osama bin TJ to murder him.
You can pay me to take a Cookie out.
You got to be close to him first.
How much you paying? Hang on.
I'll give you my commentary money, £10, £10 a race.
Nah, that's not worth a season ban.
No, don't worry.
I'll put Arrow's fund into good use.
Well, I'll do it if Arrow doesn't penalise me.
I will penalise anyone who tries to do that. So,
what if Cookie murdered Star first, and this is like his long-term revenge?
Well,
long-term revenge for what? I never beat him.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's revenge for something.
The thing is, if Cookie like intentionally murders someone, he gets himself a season ban, then he could get disqualified, and there you go. So I mean, this is kind of just, if you want to get yourself disqualified from the championship, I mean, it's not on me, you know.
By all means, he says.
I mean, you like, if someone does something astronomically bad, I mean, you may get removed from the server. So I would not encourage you to do that. You know. But anyway, enough about the talk of potential terrorist attacks. We'll move on and raid someone, and we'll raid Cloud, former WHF runner-up in behind Cookie, as he's doing an MRL race in Japan. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you have enjoyed, I've been WHF Ireland. We'll be back for next week, where we head to Silverstone for round 7. But thank you all for watching, and goodbye.
I'm currently
I have a question.